Can you hear me now?
Is that you, Nova?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you away from your microphone?
I am using the actual microphone. I am not using my headset. There. Now I should be able to hear you guys. And you should be able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me turn the volume up. Okay. I don't know how well you can hear me, but here we are.
You sound like you're in a tunnel, but without echo.
Okay.
That's good quality.
Let me... That should be a little better. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm going to begin, and I'm going to build a quilt. It's going to be a little bigger than twin size, not quite double, maybe double. Purple, turquoise, and stitch. So this is my setup. I've got my card table. This is a cutting mat. This one is 24 by 18. You can get them any size you want. And it's measured in both inches and centimeters. And you have different colors depending on what you're doing and different grids. And then if I need to spread it out, I've got my lovely bed. So, I'm only going to cut one side, not the other side. The side that is turquoise is going to be fleece blanket. This is what it looks like. It's really soft. So this will be the side that is not cut. It's kind of it's the solid part of the blanket. And then this is the part that's cut. I've got stitched fabric. And then I've got purple fabric. And you cut your squares however big you want them. I'm going to do, I believe we decided on 6 by 6, right, you guys?
Yeah.
So 6" by 6" squares. I also have a smaller board, which I usually put this on. It's to add pressure so that you can cut the fabric using a fabric cutter instead of scissors. Which I did not get out the fabric cutter, so I'm going to get it out now. This is my sewing box. It has everything I need in it. Scissors, or in this case, they're shears. When you buy a pair of shears, you want to buy a pair that you're going to use specifically and only for fabric. These are the shears I bought. They're metal. They're Westcott shears, and they're pretty heavy. They're not the lightweight shears or scissors that you find for just everyday stuff like these. And always, always keep your fabric scissors or shears separate from your regular shears, because regular stuff dulls your blades. And you don't want to do that. These are not the scissors I'm going to use to cut my squares, unless I have to. If I can find it. What you want to use, if you can get a hold of one, is a device that looks like this. This has got a safety feature on it, so you don't cut yourself. These are extremely sharp, and you can easily cut your finger wide open with it if you're not careful. If you've got small kids, I recommend that you keep it away from the kids. Okay? So these are the tools you need. Scissors or shears for fabric only, and a cutting blade. I like using the cutting blade because it's smoother. You don't have the jagged edges like you get with shears. It makes for a nice difference. This thing here is just people use these in the shower, on walls. It's a grip. It's a grip bar. And to place it, you decide where you want it, spray a little water on it, place it down, push, and push the handles down like that. And there you have a press board. I have a white pencil that I'm going to use to measure this out with. And most of the time when you buy fabric, it's folded. So you actually have twice the size that you actually get. There, see? I'm going to put these two pieces together. On some fabric, you'll find that you'll get an edge like this. It's just, this is a Disney fabric, so it has its own edge. And so if you have an edge on the other one, which I do, it's right there. You can see how it's frayed and it's stitched. You're going to want to put these together as evenly as possible. And everyone's going to do this differently. This is just the way that I'm going to do it, because I want my fabric to be cut evenly. There's one side, there's the other. You try not to have any overlapping unless your fabric was cut crooked, which this was. I'm going to lay this down flat on my measuring board or cutting board. And I'm going to start measuring. Now, I don't know how much you guys can see down here, but I'm going to try and aim my camera down. And come a little closer so that you can see this edge. This edge has to come off. You don't want to include it in your measurements. If you include it in your measurements, everything's going to be off because you're going to have to take it off anyway. Okay. If you're pretty even with the way you laid it out, then you should be good to cut. I am not even, so I'm going to redo this. I hope I have enough, because I cannot find this fabric anywhere else. You don't need to iron, because you're eventually going to iron to get everything smooth before you sew it all together. You want to try and be as precise as you can. And this is, I'm cutting off the what's called the leading edge. But you see how nice that cuts? Oop, you want to try and stay as close to your edge as you can. The very top of this, I'm just going to snip. Pull it forward, line it back up, if you're doing this on a surface that you don't want to get damaged, the cutting board can be very, very useful. And they're not overly expensive. I think I got mine at Michael's for like 20 bucks. And I use it for a lot of stuff. I paint on it. I cut on it. I measure on it. I'm not happy with that. Yeah, I guess that's pretty even. Okay. I should have gone the other direction, but I'm not left-handed. I hope I have enough, because if I don't, I'm going to have to improvise. Which is not hard to do when you make a quilt, because that's the nice thing about a quilt. It can be whatever you want. Any colors that you want, any design that you want, any shape that you want. I thought about doing triangles, but I think triangles would be a little difficult for a first time quilt for the winter. This one didn't cut as well. I wasn't pressing as hard. And I should have been pressing hard. There we go. Okay, so there's this fabric is cut with this fabric, but I've still got some purple, so I'm just going to continue to the end of the purple. You want to try and be as precise as you can so that your lines are straight. There. So that's your start. Now that you've got your start, you need to measure. Now, something I thought about doing, but I wasn't sure if I should, was measure it and fold it. And that way all my cuts are the same size. And I want 6 inch by 6 inch measuring tool. I wasn't happy with the fold on the other side, so I think, well, I guess it is pretty even. I need 6 inches. This is 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from edge to edge on this particular board is 6 inches. So I'm going to put it up here after I make it a little straighter. And I'm going to start measuring 6 inches by 6 inches. Actually, I can't do it that way. So I have 6 inches here. I have 6 inches here. Six inches here. 6 inches here. And then 6 inches at the edge. My suggestion would be to make sure you're consistent. Would be to line it up. And then once you get all the way across, then draw your lines if you can find them. So there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. So there's how big my squares are going to be, that big. Now I've got 3 lines, so I have to line up all 3. I obviously didn't make the last one. There it is. And there's this one. Okay. So you're going to do this grid all the way on this fabric, on every inch of this fabric. And then you're going to cut it. Now, I've got different color pencils. I've got a gray one, I have a blue one somewhere, probably in my basket, and a white one. The white one is for the darker colors, and the gray one is for like this kind of color, because you don't want it to be entirely seen. Granted, you're going to be stitching all this together. Actually, should have done it on the opposite side, but I didn't. Live and learn. And it doesn't matter anyway, because when you stitch it together, you're going to stitch it very closely together, and these lines are going to be gone. And if you have the right kind of pencils, when you go to wash your blanket for the first time, the lines will also disappear. I'm going to put my safety back on so I don't accidentally cut my quilt that's on my bed. And for those of you that are wondering why this is called a quilt, and it's not really patchwork. I mean, it is, but it's one solid blanket on both sides. But it's considered a quilt because it's 3 pieces of fabric sewn together as one blanket. And that is a quilt. when you have 3 pieces of fabric, you have a top, a middle, and a bottom. And your middle is usually a material that is used to keep you warm, like some sort of like batting. Which I have a little bit, but not enough to do my blanket yet. But this is what a lot of people will put in the middle. It's like a cut, like a filler, you know, what you fill stuffed animals with, but it's flat. It's laid out. So, but I need considerably amount more. So, this is actually one of the final steps that you'll take. So I'm just going to continue with my grid. Where is it? I do believe somebody used my measuring tool for something. I'm not sure what. But it is sticky, so I'm going to clean it. But be careful what you clean this with, because it is plastic. You don't want to use alcohol on it. Alcohol could potentially cause it to fog up. So, glasses cleaner. Don't use Windex with ammonia. Again, that could cause your plastics to fog up. So, just be wary, because if you're using a clear plastic one, which I am, because I want to be able to see what's behind it. And you want something that's safe for your fabric as well. Much better. By the way, this is a Fisker's measuring tool. And the mat, I don't recall. I think it's just generic. You don't want your pencil to get too dull, but you don't want it overly sharp either. That didn't show up too well, but that's okay. If I had some music, I would play some music. I do have some Spotify, I guess. I could play some music. But then they'll mute it because copyright stuff. So no music, sorry guys. Just boring me. Okay. And it's okay if when you come to the end, you don't have a full 6 inches or whatever size that you chose to make your squares or triangles. Or circles even. I saw one quilt which really was fascinating. I really liked the way it looked. They actually made squares. I believe they made 8-inch by 8-inch squares, and then they put circles. They sewed circles inside the squares. Made a really cool pattern. Really cool pattern. You're also going to find out that the texture of whatever you're using could make a difference on how your pencil draws. One more line, and then I'm going to cut these squares as I'm going to finish going across though. Not sure I agree with that. Maybe. Okay, so there's that. One section left. This has a leading edge as well. However, it's not as severe as the other leading edge, so I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to use it to my advantage. Okay, this is my last section that will be 6 inches. It looks like this last section is going to be about 4. Let's just measure that and find out. Right on the money, 4 inches. 4 1/4 maybe. $18, $12, $6. 6, 12, 18. It's probably too sharp. Okay. If you are confident with your cutting ability, you can cut it as is. I am not. So I'll use this to cut it as well. I don't want to cut my table, so I'm going to have to be careful how I cut, because this is only 17 inches by 24. Hunter. Weirdo. Please don't. I'm live streaming.